Hi everyone, it's me, Arielle, and it's Wednesday Warriors. And this week I'm going to be talking about contemplation. And this is week 2 in our current rotation. Last week I talked about pre-contemplation, and pre-contemplation being in denial, others being concerned about behaviors and health, refusing to listen, being convinced that behaviors are helpful, important, life-giving. And I discussed the brainwashing nature of an eating disorder and how it works its hold. This week with contemplation, I'm going to be talking about realizing that the eating disorder is killing you and thinking about recovery. Is it worth it? Am I sick enough? Will I fail? How will I cope without it? And I'll be weighing pros and cons. If you can hear any strange noises in the background, again, it's my cats. My one cat makes very strange noises. This is pretty much my favorite topic to talk about. And the reason it's my favorite topic is because inevitably in discussing eating disorders and recovery from an eating disorder, you have to get to the meat of this contemplation, which is it worth it? And it is worth it. And that's what I'm all about. That's what one of my main missions in life is to let other people know that it is worth it and that you can do it, and teach you how you can cope without an eating disorder. So this topic is extremely, extremely important. And as you can tell just by all the questions that surround this contemplation stage, it is very multifaceted. So, there's only so much I'm going to be able to talk about in a short video, but I do hope to link you to other videos that you may find helpful, and we'll go from there. So, is it worth it? Of course. And so many people can stand in front of you in person, over the phone, on YouTube, through email, in therapy, in a group setting, and tell you that it's worth it. But until you go through the motions and have a better quality of life than you currently have struggling with your eating disorder, you're not going to be able to fully realize just how worth it is. So for the time being, you'll have to take my word for it. But trust me when I tell you that it's worth it, coming from the perspective of a woman who struggled with an eating disorder for several years, who was in the very depths of despair, and who struggled with a lot of different issues, including body image, family-related issues, things like self-hatred, relationship issues, and perfectionism, and all sorts of things of that nature. Trust me when I tell you that it's worth it, because I hated my life and I never ever wanted to let go of the eating disorder, but I did, and it's the best thing that I've ever done with my life. This question here that's part of this contemplation stage, this, am I sick enough? It is a question that so many people ask themselves and ask others and seek validation for during their eating disorder struggles, even during the beginning stages of their recovery. And I want to post a link to a video about meeting criteria and how this plays into the whole release of denial from last week's pre-contemplation stage, and sort of making you feel like it's worth it for you to seek recovery, coming to terms with the fact that you really have an eating disorder, things like that. That video can probably discuss the area of am I sick enough much better than I can in this short time when I'm discussing other things. It's a rather old video, but hopefully you can take something from it. Then there's this question of, will I fail? Well, you might. You might fail once or twice or 3 times or more before you actually succeed in recovery. And it's just something that you'll have to be willing to accept and understand that sometimes relapse is actually part of the recovery process. So many times with various things in life that have nothing to do with mental health, people try and they succeed, and then they end up failing or going back to where they started. Sometimes they never become completely successful at the very first try. And this is just part of life. It doesn't have anything to do with recovery from an eating disorder. This is just the way we work as humans. We are flawed beings and we try our very hardest, and sometimes we don't try our very hardest, and that may be why we do fail. But the point is that we're trying, and the point is that we want to succeed. And the point is that the more we keep trying, the more likely we will eventually succeed 100%. So will you fail? Perhaps you will. You may relapse. I relapsed during my recovery. I consider myself fully recovered at this point, and by that I mean that, I've been healthy and well mentally and physically for several years now. But there was a time in my recovery when I was still in recovery that I had been doing well for a point, and then I relapsed, and then I had been doing well for a point again, and I relapsed. And it happens, and it happens to the best of us. And I really apologize for the commotion behind me, but this is the best possible place in my house for lighting right now because it's very, very late at night. In any case, you can do this. You can succeed, and you will succeed. You have to remember that you're completely worth this effort of recovery. And people before you have succeeded, and people after you will succeed. So there's no reason that you can't succeed too. You're not alone, and you can do this with support and resources, and you can do it without support and resources because you have a will inside of you, and you have the drive and determination in there somewhere that you need to tap into if recovery is really what you want. And then there's this question of how will I cope without it? And for me, that was a very big issue, separating my identity from my eating disorder and realizing that I wanted to be something more than my eating disorder, realizing that I even was something besides my eating disorder, or, besides being a thin girl. And, I would like to share with you a couple of videos that might help with that aspect of the whole contemplation, how will I cope with it? And I did write a post way, way back on my blog called Filling the Gap, which deals with this question, and I'd like to read it to you very quickly. I think wondering how to fill the gap your eating disorder previously filled is very common, but remember, only you can answer the question of what to do next. And there's so much waiting for you. There are 1,000 possibilities at your fingertips, from the simple everyday things to the more complex life goals. You just have to ask yourself one question. What do you want to do? It's an open question with many possible answers, and that's the beauty of it. What's in your head and your heart? What are your passions? What makes you feel good? Do you want to make new friends? Do you want to go back to school? Do you want to get out in the job world? Do you want to pursue a dream you've often had in the back of your mind? Do you want to have a family? Do you want to travel? Now comes the obvious thought. We can't always do what we want to do. Finances get in the way, time can be an issue, a lot of things can prevent us from doing what we want to do. But, and this is a big but, you never let things be an issue when finding a way to fit your eating disorder into your daily life, did you? Granted, money doesn't grow on trees, and lots of things that are very important take up our time. Understandable, valid, but if you really want something, you can achieve it, and don't let anything stop you. Most importantly, think about what would make you happy. Come up with 3 things. Then find a way to incorporate them into your life. Fill that gap. Filling the gap when you have decided that you want to let go of your eating disorder can be a very long process. So you have to be patient with yourself and realize that it might take you a while to learn yourself and know yourself well enough to figure out what it is you want to do and what you want to be without your eating disorder. And then as far as weighing pros and cons, all you have to do is watch this video and it'll speak for itself. Have a great week, everyone. See you next time.